out, everyone? Welcome back to day 5 of the 2025 AFL free agency and trade period. We're in kind of that little zone now that we see every single year where there's not a whole lot happening. It's like the first couple of days, every single person who works with trades and list management decides to just freaking, I don't know, say goodbye to their wives for a couple of days, and a bunch of things get done, a bunch of rumors and shit ends up happening and leaking out to the Tom Morrises of the world. No, I don't know. It's like day 4 and 5. They all decide just to go back home and see their wife. I don't really know. I've never really had that same thing happen to me. I'm still waiting for my dad to come home. He didn't come back to see his wife, so I don't really know how it all works. But at the end of the day, they must be doing something because we're not hearing a whole lot of things happen right now. But there has been still a lot of rumors and, minor things to still talk about. Of course, starting off with the first one, we are hearing that Carlton are exploring a Ben Ainsworth trade. Per Sam Enderman, also being said that Ainsworth indicated to the Suns he'd be exploring his options last week. I've spoken about that on the channel. We didn't honestly get a team that was linked to him to start off with. I suggested some teams here and there, and I think Carlton actually were one of the teams I suggested in that video. But the thing is, when you look at it, Carlton have made it pretty clear that they have a lot of certain needs that they are targeting in 2025, and I think they're not happy, but they're kind of accepted the fact now that not only is Silvani is gone, and Charlie Curnow, they're kind of filtering out trades on what's the best destination. Is it going to be out of Sydney or Geelong? But it's not like they're sitting there, freaking playing with themselves under the table or whatever. They're actually going and putting their big boy pants on, and they're making sure that they're going to do a couple different moves here and there to somewhat keep their team alive and try and do a little rebuild on the run. They've, of course, landed Buku Khamis. He'll be getting to the team. They've, of course, landed, Campbell Chess is a big one. Giat, they've been heavily interested in. But Ben Ainsworth now seems to be a target that they are really trying to go for. And I very much like this one because I think Ainsworth he's a pretty quality small forward in the game. And when I watch Carlton small forwards, it sometimes gives me diarrhea. Now, that could be convenient because the same times I usually watch Carlton is when I eat Mexican food. But I actually don't think there's that much of a coincidence that I genuinely just think, take away the Mexican food, watching Carlton small forwards is probably still giving me diarrhea because, holy shit, it can be so bad. Freaking Motlop, watching him roam around their forward line. I know what it does to Carlton fans because I've got a couple mates who are Carlton fans and I've seen what it can do to them. It's not a pretty sight. I think they really need to upgrade their small forwards going, forward. And Ben Ainsworth would be a really quality addition. I very much like that one. But speaking about teams who are kind of trying to upgrade their small forwards, we also heard that Charlie Spargo has now officially joined North Melbourne, with North Melbourne getting a end of round 2 selection, currently pick 41 at the time of making this video. That paperwork has been all approved. There have been some groundbreaking moves in AFL history. Dustin Martin re-signing with the Tigers and knocking back North Melbourne's deal. Lachie Neale leaving Fremantle to go to Adelaide. Charlie Spargo has just joined that groundbreaking list of moves. This is going to completely change North Melbourne from a 16th place team to a 15.5 place team. This is genuinely revolutionary. Not too much else to speak about this one. I just know that Melbourne are rolling around crying now because they don't have Charlie Spargo. We did hear, though, that Hawthorn has actually joined the list of clubs who have met Bailey Humphrey. According to Sam Edmund, Hawthorn has met with Bailey Humphrey, with the Hawks well and truly among the list of potential suitors for the rising Gold Coast talent. Humphrey has held talks with the Hawks in recent days, while also meeting with Melbourne and Collingwood as he weighs up pushing for a move to Victoria. despite Humphrey's manager Michael Oakes stating on Friday that his client had not met with clubs and didn't have any plans to meet with clubs. A series of covert catch-ups have taken place. We have seen the image of him walking with Melbourne's new coach and Nathan Jones, which is funny because, yeah, the manager or agent literally said he hasn't been meeting with anyone. That picture came out. So that, kind of caught his bluff. I guarantee you when he saw that picture, he was probably out here looking like the Mike Wazowski meme. I mean, that is genuinely just awkward as. Gold Coast have actually responded to this, though, with the Suns list manager, Craig Cameron, who responded to him being, caught being meeting with Victorian clubs. He said, obviously you saw things on Friday that made us scratch our heads, but we're not trading him. Gold Coast have been very adamant on many different, news reports that they're not trading Bailey Humphrey. I think this is one that is going to come down to the wire. It's a really weird situation at Gold Coast right now, and I am struggling to know what is going on. And what I mean by that is Gold Coast literally just made the 8 for the first time in their history. They put together a team that was the best that we've ever seen in Gold Coast history. Not only did they do that, but with the projections of what was going to be happening in their 2025 AFL trade period, we were expecting to see the 2026 Gold Coast Suns as a team who was going to be double the 2025 and probably a premiership contender. But over the last week, we've heard a bunch of players reportedly want out or want to be traded. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these players, in fact, pretty much everyone mentioned so far, are like in their 16 to 23 best players. But some of them are young with a lot of potential, but also some of them have been important players that even if they're not getting a game next year, they would be depth players. For example, we recently just heard that Braden Fiorini is going to be signing with Essendon. According to Xander Maguire, Braden Fiorini has elected to move to Essendon, turning back on renewing his contract at the Suns and rival interest from Port Adelaide. This is, of course, a situation where Braden Fiorini wasn't getting a game towards the start of the year, but he got a game like the whole entire the second half of the year, and played some elite footy and 100% solidified himself in the Gold Coast 23. So you may be thinking at home, why is Braden Fiorini leaving? Why is Ben Ainsworth requesting a trade? Why is Humphrey looking at a trade? All of the above. Why are all these things happening? Malcolm Roses, he's probably the one we understand because he couldn't get a game. But why are there yet again 4 and 5 players basically wanting to leave the Gold Coast Suns? And I think there's a couple of answers to this that make a whole lot of sense, and what I've been theorizing and what I think a lot of people have been theorizing. We got to remember, this is one of the first times in AFL history where the Gold Coast Suns do not have to overpay to bring in players or keep players. So you got a guy like Braden Fiorini who was in their 23 towards the end of the year, and he's got a deal from Essendon now, which may have been more than what Gold Coast were willing to pay. And Gold Coast have now just let him walk. They didn't match it because they probably sit there and think, hold on, Fiorini only just got into our 23. We don't know what it's going to look like next year now that Alex Davies has fully come through and 100% should be getting a game. And what a Leo Lombard could be coming through. The other hundreds of academy players that Gold Coast are going to be bringing in this year. They're sitting there thinking, well, Roses is definitely not going to be getting a game next year. We can trade him. Fiorini will be maybe in and out. We can let him leave. We don't have to overpay or match his deal. Other ones, Ben Ainsworth, they've got a guy like Jake Rogers right in the wings of the VFL, who is very much looking to play consistent AFL footy. He's a midfielder and a small forward. He could just replace Ben Ainsworth on a way cheaper deal for them, and he could have the potential in maybe even next year to develop into being a better player than Ben Ainsworth. They are letting these players walk because not only is their depth really good, but they're going to be bringing in at least 3 or 4 probably really solid players in this year's draft again through the academy. They have the number, I think, 2 and 4 highest ranked players in this draft in Zeke Yulin and Dylan Patterson. Those guys will 100% be pushing for games next year. Then you got a Jake Rogers. He wants to play next year. A Leo Lombard. He wants to play next year. Then you've got the players that they're bringing in who I haven't even mentioned. Jamara Ugle-Hagan wants to play next year. Christian Petrarca will be playing next year. We know BT said they're linked to James Rowbottom. They're letting all of these players go because they know they're going to replace them through academy picks, whether this year or next year. And they're obviously bringing in a ton of good players, and the academy players they've already got over the last couple of years are going to develop to probably overtaking these guys. So that's why this is all happening. And when you think about it, it looks like an issue, but it's not. At the end of the day, Gold Coast are basically cleansing their list. And the only one that they're probably too fussed about keeping is Bailey Humphrey, who they've got contracted and don't need to let walk. Sam Flanders was the other one who I forgot to mention. We know Sam Flanders is going to Gold Coast now, and that's supposed to be happening for pick number 7. Sam Flanders wasn't in Gold Coast best midfield anymore. They had to move him down forward. Was he playing that good up forward? No. So you may be thinking, oh, they could move him down back, but they can't because they've got Rioli and Noble there. So Flanders, who's getting a deal like from $900K a year from St Kilda, they're not going to match that, and they don't need to match that. Because now they're also going to bring in pick 7, and Gold Coast drafting and recruiting has been so good over the last couple of years. I think they're pretty confident they're going to bring in these players to replace the Sam Flanders. It's not going to be a big issue at all. But again, you don't want to lose too many players. That's already 5 players I've mentioned who are going to be going through trade and free agency. They're not going to want to lose Bailey Humphrey, and I think they might actually hold on to him. So that's one we're going to have to see how it does officially, you know, what the outcome is going to be and all of the above. That's going to be a really interesting one. I'm excited to see how that goes. We've also heard as well that the Pies are fully considering a move for Clayton Oliver. I've mentioned this in the last couple of videos, but we got a legit big update here. Being said that Pies are considering a Clary play. Collingwood has emerged as a contender for Melbourne midfielder Clayton Oliver as he seeks a new home. Oliver was last week told by the Demons he was free to explore chasing a new club despite having 5 years left to run in his contract. He met with the Giants on Friday, who remain well in the mix for the 28-year-old, and was spotted with GWS officials and players on a boat as the club considers him. The Magpies are also understood to be considering Oliver, with Melbourne set to pay some of his contract wherever he lands. We know that is supposed to be just over half his contract, which has been reported. Collingwood currently holds pick 38, 57, 69, 75 this year, with Oliver set to be a part of a wave of change at Melbourne, alongside potential exits of Christian Petrarca, Stephen May, and Judd McVie. Oliver, who played 22 games for the Demons this year, is expected to make a call on where he wants to play in 2026 and beyond in coming days. That was being reported by Cal Toomey. I don't really want to go too much into this one because I feel like I low-key am becoming a bit of a broken record talking about Clayton Oliver over the last couple of videos. But I have mentioned as well, I do think Clayton Oliver's best position and direction for him going forward is either at GWS or Collingwood. I don't think you could go wrong with either of those teams. Both of those teams desperately need an inside contested clearance midfielder, which Clayton Oliver is. And honestly, I feel like if he's going to get his career back on track somewhere, GWS may be easier to do it. Collingwood, you're very much under the spotlight. He's still in that Melbourne cloud. We're going to have to see how that one does unfold. But as mentioned, I think both decisions could be good for him, and I think both teams can facilitate something. Jacob Ware is one that's happened recently. I just clicked the music on whatever post I was looking at. That's my bad. We are hearing that Jacob Ware has officially signed with Port Adelaide. The paperwork has been lodged in for that. The Giants are actually receiving no compensation. What the hell? That's definitely pretty stiff if you ask me. So that's interesting. We have got an update on Zach Merritt, where Matthew Lloyd has recently said that his gut feeling is that Zach Merritt still does get to Hawthorn, while Essendon and their management are saying, we've been really clear on our position that we won't be entertaining a move of Zach Merrett. Obviously, there's some interest from us, but there's been no trade request. Yeah, I don't know at this point if Zach Merrett's going to be getting traded. I mean, I feel like it will get down, it will be a situation where he gets to Hawthorn. It's just going to be really messy, and it's probably going to happen like end of the year or end of the trade week or some shit crazy. It could very well be left to the last minute. So we'll have to see how that does all unfold and more. But yeah, this has been AFL Trade Day 5. Don't forget to make sure to leave a like on this video to let me know you guys enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel for all those sports content news. My gaming/movie channel, go and give that a subscribe as well, which will be linked down below. Go and check out my Instagram if you haven't already. Go give that a follow. Links for them will all be in the description down below. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.